president inaugurates the ruling party's 2023 Presidential Campaign Council. South Africa's annual financial report reveals huge sums spent on travels by members of parliament. Britain's economic crisis hits homes. Iran's envoy refutes Ukraine's allegation of providing Russia with drones. Now the news in detail. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, alongside All Progressives Congress APC governors and members of the National Working Committee, is inaugurating the party's 2023 Presidential Campaign Council (PCC) at the State House Banquet, Abuja. The Director of Media and Publicity APC, Tinubu Shettima Presidential Campaign Council, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, had in a statement revealed that the event will signal the formal launch of the party's campaign season. Mr. Onanuga added that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, the party's 2023 presidential candidate, and his running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima, is unveiling their action plan for the transformation of the country at the event. He said, according to the document, the former Lagos State Governor will prioritize national security, economy, agriculture, power, oil and gas, transportation and education if elected president in 2023. The Nigerian House of Representatives has questioned the nature of the Nigeria Air-Ethiopian Air deal, asking for a detailed explanation on the various stakes in the new airline, including the ownership structure and the dangers of monopoly. This was disclosed by the House of Representatives Committee on Aviation at a public hearing in Abuja. Minister of Aviation Senator Hadi Sirika told the House that the Nigerian government was allocated only 5% ownership because stakeholders do not trust the government's capacity to handle businesses. According to reports, Honorable Preye Oseke, PDP Bayelsa, expressed shock that Nigeria has only a 5% stake in the Nigeria Air project. He then asked for a detailed explanation of the various stakes in the new airline, including how Ethiopian Air emerged as the preferred bidder. The chairman of the committee, Representative Nolim Naji, PDP Enugu, warned that Ethiopia is a competitor to Nigeria and that Nigeria is giving too much advantage to the East African airline. From South Africa comes the report that about 58.5 million riyad was spent on flight tickets for members of parliament during the 2021-2022 financial year. The figure revealed that the audited annual report of Parliament showed that more than 20,000 tickets were issued to registered travel agencies in the year under review. It also revealed that members of Parliament are entitled to traveling and communication facilities in a manner that is accessible, accurate and friendly. Some of the services offered to members of Parliament include travel facilities for former members and motor vehicle support. It says applicable policies regarding these facilities are reviewed on a regular basis to ensure they remain relevant in the changing working conditions faced by public representatives. The report also revealed that policies related to funerals and the presiding officer's handbook are under consideration and remain subject to final approval. Parliamentary spokesperson Moloto Motapo estimated that reducing financial support for air travel will save 22 million over the next 5 years. This is The World at Noon, coming to you from Osun State Broadcasting Corporation, Voice of the West, Nigeria. Now, our mid-news message. The economic and political stability of the country can only be achieved through the collective efforts of Nigerians. Contribute your quota. A new survey by a watchdog group in Britain says more than half the adults in the United Kingdom are struggling to make ends meet amid the country's economic crisis. According to the survey, which was made public today, nearly 32 million people, or 60% of the country's adult population, were having trouble paying their bills due to the rise in the cost of living. Report has it that rising food and fuel prices, coupled with an unprecedented increase in the inflation rate in past years, plunged many Britons into dire economic straits. Meanwhile, a similar report by UK watchdog English Collective of Prostitutes (ACP) showed that more British women are being forced into prostitution as the country's economic crisis gets worse due to the government's failed policies. However, protesters staging rallies in London and other British cities blame Downing Street for the economic problems. About 3,000 people have taken to the streets of west-central Italy's town of Piombino to stage a rally against the outgoing government's plan to install a floating regasification terminal in the port today. According to reports, Italy has been struggling with increased energy costs as wholesale gas prices have surged to unprecedented levels across Europe since the start of the conflict in Ukraine. It was gathered that a new regasification plant is part of Mario Draghi executive plan to ease the energy crisis. In an attempt to reduce its dependence on Russian gas, Italy has increased gas imports from Algeria while opting to expand its regasification capacity. Information has it that if the government gets the go-ahead on the regasification project, a floating storage unit will be placed in the small port of Piombino. Report also indicated that the outgoing government has also picked the city of Ravenna as site for a second regasification plant, with construction work set to start in the first 4 months of 2023. The United States has warned that Washington will further isolate Syria's President Bashar al-Assad in a sign of worry to the recent reconciliations between Damascus and the Palestinian Hamas resistance movement after a decade of strained relationships. In the wake of meeting that took place between Assad and a Hamas delegation in Damascus, State Department spokesperson Ned Price expressed Washington's frustration and concerns on Assad's outreach to Hamas movement. He warned that any normalization of ties with the Syrian leader would harm the interest of the Palestinian people, claiming that it undercuts global effort to counter terrorism in the region and beyond. Meanwhile, a high-ranking Palestinian delegation has met the Syrian president in Damascus in the first of such visits in more than a decade as the two sides seek to revitalize their ties. Deputy Chief of the Hamas Political Bureau in the besieged Gaza Strip, Khalil al-Hayya, who headed the delegation, said the spirit of resistance has resurrected within the Arab world following their historic visit to Damascus. South Korea and the US are holding more military exercises this week, with their troops staging a joint river crossing drill next week. The war games follow the joint drills which Washington and Seoul conducted in August, being the largest such exercises in 5 years. In the meantime, US officials claimed that the renewed military drills are defensive in nature. North Korea views the recent drills as a rehearsal for the invasion of North Korea and has responded by firing artillery and short-range missiles into nearby waters surrounding the Korean peninsula. Activists have expressed concern over what they call cycles of dangerous exercises, drills, and military spending. North Korea has this year conducted several ballistic missile tests, which it argues are efforts to deter the threat from the US and South Korea, as Seoul continues to upgrade its arsenal of submarines, ships, aircraft, and missiles. South Korea, Japan, and the US, on the other hand, have blamed North Korea's missiles test for the increased security risk on the Korean peninsula. US officials have repeatedly claimed that they have reached out to North Korea for unconditional negotiations. In the meantime, the US South Korea alliance appears determined to increase military pressure against Pyongyang, with large-scale joint air force drills scheduled to begin on October 31st. Iran's permanent representative to the United Nations, Amir Said Iravani, has refuted Ukraine's allegation that the Islamic Republic violated a UN resolution by providing Russia with drones. Amir Said Iravani made the remarks in a letter to the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and the World Body Security Council. The envoy submitted the letter after Ukraine's UN ambassador Sergei Kalista wrote to Guterres and Security Council members alleging that the Islamic Republic had violated the UN SC Resolution 2031 by allegedly transferring unmanned aerial vehicles to Russia, which is conducting a military operation in the ex-Soviet Republic. Responding to Kyiv's allegation, Amir Ravani noted that the restrictions mentioned in the Annex B of the UNSC resolution had ended in October 2020, adding that since then, None of Iran's actions towards provision, selling or transfer of weapons or related materials to other countries has been subject to the resolution. He finally called on the world body to confront such unfounded anti-Iranian allegations. And here again are the highlights of the world at noon. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, alongside All Progressives Congress APC governors and members of the National Working Committee, is inaugurating the party's 2023 Presidential Campaign Council at the State House Banquet, Abuja. About 58.5 million riyal was spent on flight tickets for members of parliament in South Africa during the 2021-2022 financial year. A new survey by a watchdog group in Britain says more than half the adults in the United Kingdom are struggling to make ends meet amid the country's economic crisis. Iran's permanent representative to the United Nations, Amir Said Iravani, has refuted Ukraine's allegation that the Islamic Republic violated a UN resolution by providing Russia with drones. That was the World at Noon, edited by Olushayo Babatunde and delivered by Titilope Ajiboye. In this news talk, Adeboye Okuola recalls the case of a 25-year-old tricycle rider who committed suicide after he allegedly suffered frustration when he lost 2 tricycles to robbery gangs.
The people of Anguan Rukaba community in Just North local government area, Plateau State, Nigeria, were perturbed 3 days ago when the suicide story of a 25-year-old tricycle rider filtered into the air. The tricycle rider, who lost 2 tricycles to gun-toting armed men in an interval of 2 weeks, was so frustrated by the unfriendly environment created by insecurity of lives and property. Reports indicate that a young man was arrested by the woman from whom he bought the first tricycle on hire purchase and spent a week in police custody before he was released after he entered into agreements to pay the balance of the agreed price of the stolen tricycle installmentally. It is for the purpose of fulfilling the payment in installments that he bought another tricycle on hire purchase from another, which he lost to a set of gun-wielding robbery gang a week later. The 25-year-old tricycle rider, Bulos Asuma, did not report the incident to the dealer but told some of his friends and expressed his deep regret at morbid melancholy of gruesome burden of insecurity on him. The frustrated tricycle rider neither reported the case to the police nor any of his relatives, but he chose the most dangerous option to kill himself by hanging. The case of Bulus Asuma is one of several worst cases of depression arising from undue distress, pain, and hardship suffered from a failed society where leaders have manifestly demonstrated lack of competence in social controls. It goes without saying that many suicide cases are directly linked to aggravated dementia, which occurs from impaired reasoning caused by traumatic stress. A proper analysis of the situation of Bulus Asuma would show a cause of hopelessness in the society to provide or give support to life. He would have also seen the society as a common enemy which he didn't have capability to contend. This motivated his decision to commit suicide without reporting the snatching of his tricycle to the police for investigation and possible recovery. It is indisputable fact that many Nigerians are living with dementia resulting from failure of leaderships to make environments conducive for human habitation. Presently, the sorrowful state of the country's economy is precipitated by recklessness looting of public treasuries at central and state levels. This has put private economies in acute jeopardy. The consequences of this are traumatic stress, strife, poverty, and agony that have put several homes asunder. Likewise, the failure to tackle the insecurity headlong has resulted in increasing wave of unemployment and starvation. The aftermath is impaired reasoning in the youths, who have resorted to crime of different grades as solutions to problems imposed by failed society. News Talk is of the view that it is time for a rejig of leadership in the country in order to save Nigerians from traumas.
That news talk by Adeboye Bukola of our editorial desk took a swipe at the despicable security situation in the country, which made a 25-year-old tricycle rider commit suicide after losing 2 tricycles to robbery gangs. This piece was read by Temitope Olaiwola. Good afternoon.
It's entertaining.